was once said that the shortest distance between two people is a smile. That is one reason why we all feel so close to Rich Rosen. Every warm smile, firm handshake, and word of encouragement allowed our class to move forward and exceed all expectations. Mr. Rosen is a founding father, wisdom-filled leader, and wonderful friend to Metro High School. As Patel's Corporate Vice President of Education and Philanthropy Partnerships, Mr. Rosen has taken great strides in bettering the progress of STEM education. He was recently recognized by the National Society of Black Engineers for his dedication to the expansion of STEM schools. As his first baby and test subject for a STEM school, the graduating class at Metro High School has been presented with wonderful opportunities. Mr. Rosen is a man who gets things done. He is responsible for our close friendship and partnership with Patel, who funds and supplies us with many wonderful resources. When I asked Mr. Rosen to address our class today, he immediately turned his interest to me. He asked where I was going to school, what I was studying, and took a genuine interest in my future. He also introduced me to several people who could assist me in succeeding. For all of the dedication, encouraging spirit, and overall accomplishment as a friend to the senior class, I would like to thank you, Rich Rosen. Now, I would like for all of us to offer a smile back to Mr. Rosen and give him a warm welcome as the keynote speaker for this graduation ceremony celebrating Metro High School's class of 2010.
Thank you. I may need the Kleenex. Thank you. Well, it is an honor to join those who congratulate you today as the inaugural graduating class at Metro Early College High School. And I want to congratulate the parents and the guardians and the families who encouraged you to be here, motivated you to stay here, probably forced you at times to be in the seats that you needed to be in to reach this day. I want to also congratulate the tremendous teachers and Metro staff and your extraordinary principal for everything that is done to enable you to be at this day. On August 8th, 2006, I received this handwritten note in the mail, and it has been pinned to my wall in my office since that day, and it reads in part, "Dear Rich, on behalf of the Metro staff, it is both humbling and exciting to walk the halls of Battelle and consider the extraordinary learning opportunities we will create. It is Tuesday, August 8th, 2006, and in 20 days, our first class of ninth graders will arrive. Who knows where these opportunities will take us, the students at Metro and our global society." And the note is signed by the original Metro staff, underlined original, by the way. And it ends with 4 words, "And so it begins." And that note on my wall is the inspiration for the comments I want to provide this morning. We know that history is punctuated by firsts: the first human to walk on the moon, the first woman to walk in space, who happens also to be a part of the heritage of the building that you're in, the first surgeon to perform a human heart transplant and the first patient to receive it, the first Major League Baseball player to break the color barrier, and the first woman to argue a case in front of the Supreme Court, and the first black U.S. president. We remember firsts because they inspire us and they infuriate us, and being among the first to do anything causes us to set a bar that motivates others to move past it. And while we remember the firsts, let's not forget that every pioneering milestone that logs itself into history stands on the shoulders of individuals and groups who tried and didn't succeed, and their efforts informed all the ones who eventually did. You all know what it's like to be first. Not just the first to graduate. You were the first to enroll in Metro before a building was completed and before those original teachers were even hired. You helped us form the very program that you are now graduating from. And so it begins again for each of you. In the habits of mind that define the Metro community, I want to call attention to what I believe is a skill each of you have mastered that is perhaps the one that is most important to serve you throughout your life. We celebrate your achievements today, and on that journey to this moment, every one of you has mastered what it means to try and to fail and to try again. In my experience, that is a rare, rare gift. Because in whatever field you pursue, in with every group and every age that you ever work with, you will hear so many reasons why you shouldn't try. We're not allowed to. We tried it before and it didn't work. We can't do that because it's never been done before. Or the old, it's not in our policy. No one's heard that. We don't know how. We can't agree on what we should do, so let's just wait. What if it doesn't work? And what if it does? Please, do not listen to those voices. We live in a world today that is so complex and so interconnected that problems confront us not as individuals, but as a total human species. And we see vast inequities between those who have enough and those who have nothing. And standing in between the problems and the solutions is almost always the courage to try. Do not listen to the voices that tell you that the risks of failure are too high. Now, you already know that. We've heard tearful stories about how you know that. In your studies at Metro, you've confronted problems head on. You've learned how to debate and respectfully consider all sides of an argument, and you are all thoughtful and you are all provocative. For each of you that didn't reach mastery on your first try, you know what it's like to learn from your mistakes, to make adjustments, and then to try again. But you also know what it's like to watch others make mistakes in their journey of learning, and then to understand what they were going through and to respect and support them in the process. Their success was all of your success. You know, when I think about my own life and any time that I've had a chance to contribute, what stands out for me is not what happened, but what it felt like to try. And also what it felt like not to try. And I want to tell you a story about a philosophy of life that I learned from my own hero, my dad. He was not a STEM expert. He sold carpet and shoes and vacuum cleaners door to door. And in the shoe business, his only connection with STEM in the 1950s was a thing called a petoscope, an X-ray machine that would be on the sales floor of the department store, and the customers could stick their feet under it and look at an X-ray of their bones in well-fitting shoes. Now, it's a colossal safety problem, by the way, which is why you don't find them today. But in the 50s, it was a good gimmick to sell shoes. But he had three principles that defined his life that I want to talk to you about today because they define mine. First, he would say it's all about relationships. Build them, nurture them, because they are fragile. They will serve you well throughout your entire life. And he had plenty. In the 1960s, people would drive halfway across the state of Ohio to see my dad at O'Neill's in Elyria, Ohio, just to buy a pair of shoes for him. Not because of the shoes, but because they had a relationship with him that went well beyond a pair of shoes. Next, he said it's all connected. Nothing exists in isolation. The more relationships you have, the more opportunities to see things you wouldn't have seen or done otherwise. And look for those connections always. So as a salesman, he loved a good contest. He won most everything he entered. So when I was delivering the Cleveland Press at the age of 13 in Cleveland, Ohio, there was a contest announced that would send the newspaper carrier who could open the most accounts to Washington, D.C., and my dad took it as his personal challenge to win that contest for me. Note I wasn't in that equation. He always wanted to go to D.C., but he never had the chance. But a few days later, I miraculously had 130 new people signed up for my paper route that I had never heard of. And those same people that I had never heard of allowed me to see our nation's capital. And finally, my dad's last lesson comes from a trip my family took to visit relatives in Pittsburgh when I was about 9 or 10. We were walking down the street on our way to my aunt and uncle's house, and my dad reached into his pocket, he took out a handful of his business cards, and he threw them in the air, and they floated to the sidewalk as we kept walking. Now, there were a lot of things about my dad I didn't understand, and this was just a glimpse of one of them. I asked him, why did he do that? And he said, you never know. Someone could be walking by here later today, and they might pick up my card because they don't like litter in their neighborhood. They might mindlessly put it in their pocket and forget it's there. They might be driving across the turnpike near the Elyria exit when they look down and see their tattered shoes and wish that they had a brand new pair while they were on their trip. And at that very precise moment, they might be reaching in their pocket, and there would be my business card, and I could sell them a pair of shoes. And I said, that's not going to happen. And he said, you're probably right, but you never know. You never know. If you were to take a sample of my DNA in my blood, I am pretty sure that you would discover that I inherited a gene that gives you the courage to try from my dad. And I know that that gift made me a better person. Over the years, I've watched You Never Know turn into new medical breakthroughs that save lives, technologies that purify toxic runoff from coal mines into pure, safe drinking water for the community. And yes, I've seen You Never Know can even turn into a new STEM school in Columbus, Ohio. But trying without preparation can be folly. I would love to try to fly an airplane, but I doubt there are any volunteers in this audience that would want to be a passenger on my first flight just because I have good intentions, because I'm simply not prepared. You are all prepared. You understand that when you try and it doesn't work, that your preparation allows you to take another path informed by the last one. You understand that you can begin without exactly knowing how everything will unfold and not be afraid of not knowing. So as you leave here today, keep front and center the experiences you've created with each other. Celebrate what it feels like to be sitting in these seats because you didn't settle for just getting by. You figured out how to do the work no matter what. We're in a world of Twitter and Facebook and 24-hour news, and it's easy to see why trying can be so risky because we all make the consequences of failure so high. You can each make your mark in reversing that trend simply by using what you already know about working with and respecting each other in everything you do. I am honored to represent hundreds of staff at Battelle that have directly had the privilege of trying and learning with all of you. And we will continue to work with all of those who follow behind in your able footsteps as Metro continues to evolve. We are blessed to do it alongside of our terrific partners at The Ohio State University, the Columbus City Schools, the Educational Council, and with all of the superintendents and partners in the Central Ohio School Districts who believe that this is worth doing. So being first is sometimes only about being in the right place at the right time and being prepared. Trying is hard, it takes courage, but trying with preparation can be magical. Leave here today knowing that you are all prepared and go create some magic for our world. And so it begins today for all of you. And my congratulations and Godspeeds on your journey ahead.